Alright, war number 4 here, and we're up against PALO. And there you guys can see that they banned Kingpin, Omega Red, and CGR. I've mentioned this. These seem to be 3 pretty normal bans, and CGR in particular I think is a really strong ban with this meta. But I am going to be finally bringing in Apocalypse. Apocalypse, if you're not aware, is the champ that I feel most safe with in my Alliance War fights. And my best seasons, I've never had a deathless season, but my best seasons have been seasons where I could just pretty much use Apocalypse every war. And prior to the bans being introduced, which obviously I think is a good, healthy addition to Alliance War, I was able to kind of use Apocalypse for most of my fights. And when I used him, I usually did really well. I've never died with Apocalypse at rank 4. I believe he's the only attacker on my roster that is rank 4 or higher that I have not died with. So, anyway, okay, feeling good. I'm going to be using Apocalypse against this Misty here. I can just gain Incinerate immunity during the first phase, and then I kind of play around the poison phase as much as I can. But Misty is, there's a lot of words in her abilities, but essentially, when you dex her, she gains charges. When you parry her or do a well-timed block against her, she gains yellow charges. There's blue and yellow charges, and each of those gives her a very small chance to either evade or purify, but once they become equal at 6 or higher, she becomes a little bit dangerous. So you guys are going to see some input issues throughout the first few fights. So here's an input issue there where I tried dexing and it just didn't work. I just stood there. I do have the Incinerate immunity at this point, but there I get the poison. So while I get the poison, she she throws a special, and at this point I'm like, holy shit, am I about to die? I really need to buckle down here and just take my time. Now, I don't have suicides on for this fight, but I'm sitting at about, what is that, probably about 8% health, and I know that I need to full dex this SP1. I didn't even full dex it. And here, I'm just trying to wait out the poison a little bit, and if I get cornered, I'm just going to throw a Hail Mary SP1. There, I'm able to find a window. I throw the SP1. Look at this. It drops her down to 2%, and I'm like, oh my god, just survive. I could have just did a full combo into her block, but I was slightly worried about her evading because she had a couple of those, of her charges. Anyway, we managed to get out. That's the closest to dying I've come with my Apocalypse since he was rank 4, and I think he was my first rank 4 champ. I can't remember actually, but yeah, absolute insanity. Now here we're using Red Hulk, just because Red Hulk is a tactic attacker. My Red Hulk is rank 4. All of my attackers this war are rank 4. And in this fight, for the most part, I'm just going to do parry heavy. Now fighting the Eternity of Pain Icarus has really helped kind of with the spacing. And if you throw a medium, then you get like a little time bomb. There you go. Power detonation is what it's called. And you need to throw a special attack before that expires, or you're going to take burst damage. And I just want to avoid the burst damage. So I'm going to go ahead and throw my SP2 here. I'm at 100%. My SP2 does give 6% healing, which is nice. But so I'm able to keep topped off. And here I just want him to throw his SP1 so that I can counter it with a heavy. And I think I'm going to have to use a little light attack there for spacing. But, yeah, Red Hulk, I mean, you guys know this, but Red Hulk is very, very easy and safe for most fights on this lane. Because the Incinerate and Poison, he just converts automatically into heat charges, which make him tankier and give him a little bit of red damage as well on his heads. Okay, here I am throwing on half suicides because I want to get out of this fight as quickly as possible. It's a Mojo. And I'm going to be using Red Hulk, of course. I'm pretty sure that I take off Dex here. Maybe I didn't take off Dex. Oh, it's a Sasquatch. Okay, I took Mojo in the last video. Okay. So yeah, for Sasquatch, don't need to take off Dex here, but I am going to try to essentially not trigger Dex much at all in this fight. Now, if he throws an SP1, I have to trigger it, because his SP1 can stun through block. But I'm just going to use an invulnerability boost here, and I'm going to try to kill him before he gets into Wrath. And Red Hulk, especially at rank 4, can definitely do that. His damage is very, very, very good, especially with half suicide. So there I'm running, obviously 3 out of 3 in Liquid Courage, just automatically convert that into a heat charge. And this guy is just going really, really low. And here in a second, you guys are going to see another input drop right there. And those ruptures are just, they're doing a bunch of damage because they're doing almost 1,000 damage per tick because he had the Fury. And yeah, it's just super annoying. And at this point, after the Misty fight and now this one, and here, I mean, I'm going to get out of this fight having lost about 50% of my health almost. Here I'm going to throw the SP3. This is just going to kill him. So I lose 40% of my health to that one issue, even with the invulnerability boost. Just the ruptures by themselves tick me down 40%. And that it was just super frustrating. And I had some pretty tough fights coming up. Neither of those fights I was concerned about at all. And so I'm just thinking like, oh my god, okay. So number one, just the item cost is massive. And I've got a couple pretty, I think, tough fights, or at least scary fights, like somewhat dangerous fights with Apocalypse. And he's got so much health. I'm obviously boosted. And so yeah, I'm just like, well, crap, there goes like all of my items just on 2 input drops in that Misty fight, and then 1 input drop. So super frustrating, and at this point, I'm just a little anxious because I don't really know. Like, you can't really feel those things out. I mean, you could play other game modes and see if it happens. But in duels in AQ, if you go in and do those, as I did after that Misty fight, or I'm sorry, before the Misty fight, it didn't really, there just wasn't really any issues. And then you come into war and it's just a little bit different. So anyway, okay, Absorbing Man. Last time I fought Absorbing Man, I used my rank 3 torch, and I was a little slow to punish his SP1, and I got parried with Stand Your Ground. So here, we want to bait him out, but there you guys can see that I am going to get rooted. Now, that's not a big deal. I can backdraft and then parry him. And then, yeah, there I just... the timing was just off. I guess I could play... If I played that back, I could probably figure out exactly what happened. But Scorpion's evade did save me there, so I got a little bit lucky. But the deal here and there, he just like does massive damage through my block because his form is refined. There you guys can see Black Uru refined, and now it's deactivated. So now I'm good. I just have to keep counter heavying his SP1. There I take a hit on the block on accident, which I didn't want to do. But overall, this is a really safe matchup. And the more I can counter heavy his SP1, I can kind of, there you go, I can deactivate his form. And I don't really want him to be that high on his morph charges at over 500. But I feel like that's fairly tough to avoid in this fight. But overall, it's very, very safe if you know what you're doing, and if you've done some practice just with the heavy counter. It's pretty safe. I never felt in danger in that fight, and Scorpion in general is just a total monster. So, okay, so here I am using Apocalypse for this fight, and I don't have an Odin Shock Resist. So, yeah, here we go. We're just gonna dip hard into our item stash. We're gonna have to use our 2 remaining big level 5 potions, and it barely heals him up anyway. So just a ton of items. It's just super unfortunate. But Apocalypse is really, really strong for Nick Fury in general, and I think it's easier to fight Apocalypse, easier to fight Nick Fury really with any attacker. With this global, you can kind of use it against Fury to push him to his SP2 more frequently. So here, the main thing that I want to focus on here is obviously I want to make sure that I'm pushing him to his SP2, and the biggest thing is I just want to make sure that I'm not losing the spacing battle too much. So I want to make sure that I don't get cornered, whether that, you know, I've got a little bit of space or a lot of space, doesn't really matter. I feel comfortable against Fury in general. I just need to make sure that I don't get completely cornered because I do struggle, you know, dexing is heavy on the wall. So I need to make sure that I don't get heavied. I do have, I think I went invuln here. I can't remember actually. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I went invuln, maybe SP1. I mean, I really wasn't paying attention when this fight started, but so yeah, we're good. We're just gonna hold block. We're gonna let him build up those flourish charges, and then there you guys can see we're just gonna use those against him. Push him over his SP2 or his 2 bars of power. I'm gonna let him throw this. I don't care about the armor break because it's just gonna heal me up a little bit with willpower. There you guys can see I'm healing 200 per tick, which is great. And here is kind of where the danger is. Getting cornered, but fortunately he throws his SP2, gives me a window to throw mine. And again, I am only worried about spacing in this fight. I don't care about maintaining my debuffs. It would be great if I could maintain my debuffs, but if I don't, it's not really a big deal. I know that there's no danger in this fight other than getting cornered, and obviously we don't want him to throw his SP1 and start building tactical charges and eventually go unblockable. So, yeah, we're just kind of buying time here, trying to bait a special, and then obviously, yeah, obviously we wanted to let his LMD tick down, and then he ends up, God, he really just hung on there at the end at 1%, but minute 45, not bad for that fight. It went well, and I didn't have to spend a ton of additional items there. Okay, so here we have a Mole Man. I'll be using Apocalypse for this. Mole Man is tactic. And again, you just really don't need to worry about the flourish charges against Mole Man here. If he was on the second node, it does have Rich Get Richer. That would make him more dangerous. But here, he doesn't have Rich Get Richer. It's just the more buffs he has, like each buff that he has, the defender has, reduces the attacker's defensive ability accuracy by 10%. So that really just affects parries. Not a big deal. But obviously with Monster Mass, you don't want to hit into his block because he'll gain an unstoppable buff and he can just counter you. But I just don't. I'm not worried about this fight whatsoever. Apocalypse is just going to do his thing. I don't ever have to worry about Purify. And I'm never going to worry about maintaining my debuffs or refreshing them with heavies. None of that matters to me. And overall, we get through the fight in about 50 seconds. So, pretty straightforward fight. And then next we have Wiccan. Okay, so the deal with Wiccan, guys, I did use Scorpion here. I felt like Scorpion would be a little bit faster than Red Hulk. In hindsight, I probably should have used Red Hulk because Wiccan is not going to get buffs. He can get regen buffs on his SP1, which would, you know, definitely feed into Rich Get Richer. But yeah, I just thought in general, like if he got passive, I would rather have Scorpion. But here's the thing: his spells will activate whether he hits you or not. So if he does, for example, a light ending 5-hit combo into your block, like the AI will sometimes do, he will inflict a neutralize. If he does a medium ender into your block, he will inflict an incinerate. So you have to worry about that a little bit, and that is going to happen in this fight. I am going to get incinerated. There I get incinerated, which is fine. It's not going to do a ton of damage, and I just want to keep baiting out these SP1s that I can get through the fight. I was twice a little late to punish there. That was just a bad idea to try to sneak in a dash in. I should have just let him come to me. The other thing is obviously you don't want to parry Wiccan unless you have an Incinerate immune champ, because if you parry him, it will give him a resistance up and incinerate you. So, okay, we have 2 fights left. This Gorr, and I remember this Gorr was just a nightmare. Just the AI was so just weird. You guys will see what I'm talking about. And for this, I'm going to use Scorpion, and then I have an Annihilus on node 49, and I'll be using Red Hulk for that fight. So, all right, so the deal here is you want to use a Power Start 1 because, of course, Gorr starts with buffs, and then with a Tactic Attacker, you can just throw your special to Fate Seal, as long as they're not immune to Fate Seal like Gallon. So I'm going to throw my special. I fate seal him. He has 2 passive neutralizes up, which is great. And I'm doing medium, light, medium. Now this is something that I've talked to some of our Scorpion guys about in the Alliance. In war, especially when you're up against a really heavy buff champ like a Gorr or like a Hulkling, it's actually more advantageous to do full 5-hit combos. And the reason is that, of course, that is going to give you more power, so you can more frequently recycle your SP1. So, you know, medium is the most efficient way to put sting debuffs on the defender, but you also have to consider with this tactic, you know, the recycling your special attacks. So anyway, all right, there I go with the light intercept. Light intercepting, it's recently become more important. It's even been built into some champs kits, which I think is really cool, like Mantis and of course Absorbing Man. Here I was a little bit worried. I was like, oh my god, what is this going to do? Fortunately, it does nothing because he has no buffs, so he's not able to inflict any debuffs on me. And here we're just going to throw another SP2. And I think at some point, right here is when this fight gets crazy, because you guys can see that he's taunted. He throws his SP1. That's great. My neutralizers are going to fall off. He gets down to 3% of his health. Okay, well, actually, this fight is over, I think. Well, anyway, there was a point in this fight I was talking through it. No, it's here, isn't it? Alright, he's going to regen all the way up to like 20% health, and he just would not throw his special one. Look at this. It's insane. He was taunted for a fair bit of that, and ultimately it's okay, right? Because I know that I can control this fight. He's just costing me time. But here, because he's at such low power, I am going to have to go for another light intercept, and I'm able to get it off, throw the SP1, and this fight is back in control. I think I might even do another light intercept here. No, okay. But anyway, light intercepting is really handy. It's something I think a lot of players practiced in EOP, as I did, and I think going forward it's going to be a pretty important war skill to have for instances like that, where you're dealing with an unblockable attacker and you need safe intercepts. And there isn't really any safe intercept per se, but light attack intercepting is certainly more safe than, just doing like a medium intercept after dashback. So, okay, here I go with invulnerability. I didn't really need to do that, but I'm going to practice a little dashback light intercept, if you will. And there I'm able to get a regular intercept. And I am going to be doing medium intercepts against this Annihilus. There's something about his profile, and I don't know if it's like programming. I don't exactly know how they do things, but there's something about his profile that he's just more aggressive. Like, he's just easier to medium intercept. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but he frequently dashes in at you, so he's very, very easy to medium intercept. I think there are a few times in this fight that I go for light intercepts as well, but he just seems to be very, very consistent in dashing in after you do like a 4-hit combo and then dash back. So, okay, so obviously here I'm just recycling my SP1s to keep him nullified. Now, when he has his Cosmic Rod, he is immune to nullify, so you actually have to nullify his rod before you can nullify his other buffs, but I mean, I can't even talk through the fight before it's over. So overall, the war got off to a really rocky start. After the Sasquatch fight, I kind of got back into rhythm, and I felt really good after that. So it was a big war for me, really out of necessity, just the champs that I have and the matchups that I wanted to have for the map. I am the only person in my battle group with a rank 4 Red Hulk, and I wanted a Red Hulk for that Annihilus. Mephisto is an option for that Annihilus, but Annihilus is Incinerate immune, so that gives your damage a little bit. And Mephisto's damage, in general, even at rank 4, is just not great. So, anyway, we are 4-0 after this war, and I improved to 28-1 on the season. Our next war is against GT40. It's actually, that war has ended, so I'll have that video out here in a couple days. And of course, we'll have a war scoreboard and alliance rankings update video out tomorrow. So if you are interested in watching those, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave a like and a comment if you want, and I will catch you guys in the next video.